Hey, I got an email recently. I am growing and evolving, and he won't change a thing. Let's talk about that. Hey, this is Paul Coliani with the Overwhelmed Brain, here with another episode for the subscribers of the show called Minutes to Momentum. This is where I can be a little bit more laid back and just throw in some extras in between the main show called The Overwhelmed Brain that happens once a week on your regularly scheduled, that one doesn't work, on your favorite podcast or internet radio station. Anyway, I received an email from someone that I will call Melissa, and that's not her real name because I want to keep her privacy, but Melissa wrote me probably one of the longest emails I've ever received. That's not a problem. I'm not complaining about that, but it took me a while to read and understand the gist of what was happening in her life. And from what I got, and I hope she's listening now, because what happened is I actually responded to her. And if you're listening now, you gave me the wrong email address, or an email address that just doesn't work anymore. So if you don't get a reply from me, then please write me back or listen to this episode because it's all about you. So Melissa wrote, and I'm not going to read it word for word. I'm just going to kind of read a few sentences here and there. She read my article on irrational behavior, and it made her realize that she, in the heat of the moment, needs to, quote, survive the argument. And she never feels right. She just feels blamed. And no matter how many times they argue, it always ends up with her boyfriend, I guess, wanting to be attached to being right or wanting to make sure that she is to blame. It's always an outward focus from him to her. He's always pointing the finger. He's always labeling her. He's always saying there's something wrong with her and never going inside himself and asking himself if there's an issue with him. So she wrote this email, and I finally got the gist of what was going on. And I wrote to her back, and like I said, it didn't go through. So what I'd like to do is read you what I wrote, not only as a direct response to her, but also because maybe you'll get something from this too. So here it is. I'm just going to read it. And before I read it, I apologize about my voice. I have been reading an audiobook. I do that on the side for voiceover work. And I've been reading nonstop for the last 2 days. So my voice is kind of tired, if you didn't notice already. So here it goes. Here's the letter now. Hello, quote, Melissa. Thank you for sharing your story. I'll tell you how I approach love and relationships. Love is wanting the other person to be happy and doing what you can to make that happen. Is he doing what he can to make you happy? Or is he doing what he can to make him happy? From what you explained, he is too busy pointing the finger at you and stuck in self-righteousness to even think about loving you in the way I describe love. Loving someone because you want them in your life to fulfill your needs is a desperate, dependent, and sometimes a very unhealthy place to be. If he, quote, loves you because he needs you and can't imagine the world without you, it's a place of dysfunction. And the same goes for you. Loving someone is wanting them to be happy and making their lives peaceful in any way you can. When you do that for him and he does that for you, you are both in a healthy, happy, satisfying, fulfilling relationship. When only one of you does it, it falls apart. Now, relationships are what happen when you attract someone into your life, either intimately or platonically, based on the level of function or dysfunction that you're at. In other words, how dysfunctional you are is how dysfunctional the other person will be too. And the way that works is whatever you need triggered in you, you'll attract someone into your life that will do you the greatest service of triggering you. In your case, everything you get upset about in him is exactly what you need to be upset about. Now, why? because it shows what you need to work on in yourself. When people trigger you, it's because of an emotional longing or need that you haven't processed and healed from yet, like rejection or abandonment, whatever. And you will always find someone to trigger that upset in you when you haven't healed from it yourself. Once you heal from it, you respond differently when he behaves the same. You react differently when he tries to provoke you. You react empowered instead of unempowered, and those reactions come naturally. You both have healing to do, and whatever upsets you about the other person is what you need to work on in yourself. So how do you do it? The first thing is to change how both of you communicate with each other. He spends more time trying to lay the blame for his dysfunction on you when what he needs to do is start asking himself questions like, why does this upset me so much? Why am I upset when she does that? Why do I care if she doesn't pay attention to me? Why am I upset when she fill in the blank? And the same goes for you. Ask those types of questions to yourself. Sure, the other person triggers them in you, but your emotional responses are still in you. Otherwise, you wouldn't be triggered. And when one of you starts to change because you heal and grow from your triggers, the other person changes automatically, or they leave. They either have no choice but to change or leave. Or you leave if there's no change, but it's certainly a choice. If he can't learn to ask those questions of himself, then he doesn't want you to be happy. He wants him to be happy. Of course, we all want to be happy within, but when you're in a relationship, when your goal is to make the other person happy and their goal is to do the same for you, you both win. It doesn't mean you don't pursue your own hobbies and go out with your friends. It just means you don't point the finger at the other person. You point it at yourself. Well, she does this and she does that is pointless talk. The real meaningful talk comes from asking yourself questions and using I statements when things get heated. Like, I feel angry when you do that. I feel angry because I feel like you don't care about me. I feel is a lot different than, you make me angry, or you disrespect me. Using I statements keeps the focus on yourself and not blaming or intentionally hurting or abusing the other person. Now, can he use I statements? I don't know, but I do know that when people are so busy blaming everyone else for their problems, the problem always comes down to the one complaining. The one thing I highly recommend you start right away is practicing I feel statements and always keeping the focus on yourself. This will help you start getting used to honoring your personal boundaries. Whenever you feel disrespected in one of your personal boundaries, I'm sure, you can say, I feel like you don't respect me when you do this. And if he says, of course I respect you, but you don't respect me. Otherwise, you'd stop doing what you were doing and attend to my needs. Now, remember the definition of love? Someone who really, truly loves you and wants you to be happy is going to be attending to your needs. It doesn't mean he doesn't love you. It just means that maybe he hasn't learned how to do that yet, perhaps. But if he really wants to be heard and he won't listen to you or give you an opportunity to talk about your needs, then listen to him. Turn on your inner therapist and step out of yourself, if that makes sense. Ask questions like, so you don't like when I pay attention to you? Okay, why is that? And listen without judgment. He's going to say some hard stuff, but it won't be personal. It'll be his own pain. And let him say anything, even if it's, I hate you. Just listen with an open mind and be there. Let him get it all out. Give him that safe zone to express himself freely, even if he's saying the worst. Unless you feel threatened, then get out. But when you give him that safe zone to express, all of that emotional energy can drain out of him and he'll return back to himself and perhaps even let you express yourself next. The bottom line is if you really want this to work out, then someone has to change in order for the other one to. If you both stand your ground, nothing will change. Your reaction triggers his reaction, which triggers your reaction, and so on. Anyway, I wish you the best. Now, Melissa asked for some resources, and I gave her the following. I said, the resources I recommend are the episodes of my show on personal boundaries and relationships. Just go to my website, theoverwhelmedbrain.com, and there's a search bar. Just use the search bar and look for the word personal boundaries and when others aren't ready for you to evolve. And I think there's another one called when you're giving, how to give yourself without giving too much, or something like that. So anyway, that was Melissa's email. I wanted to read that to you, or at least my response to you, because love and relationships is like almost, it feels like why we're here. It feels like we are here to enjoy the relationships with each other in all ways. And I don't think it's the actual reason we're here. I think it's one of the main reasons we're here. But while we're here, we might as well enjoy each other. And how do we do that? It's nice just to be able to make someone else happy. And when you can find someone that you can help make them happy and they do the same for you, it is an unbreakable, wonderful, satisfying, fulfilling relationship. And again, it could be friendships, it could be intimate relationships, whatever your relationships are. But when there's only one of you that's making the changes and taking the steps and growing and evolving, and the other one just wants to stay the same and be motivated to blame you, be motivated to make you look bad, and you're the one making all the mistakes, and just putting all that pressure on you, then there's an imbalance. It's desynchronization. It doesn't work. You both have to be in it together, wanting the same for the other person. If your significant other or your friend has hobbies that you don't necessarily like, for example, my girlfriend likes country music. I'm not a big fan, but you know what? It makes her happy. So when she blasts it in the house every now and then, I'm fine with it. Now I might say, okay, now it's time for my song, and then we'll go to something I like. So that's just one of the ways. It's toleration here and there, the tiny little sacrifices here and there, all because you want the other person to be happy in your life. So that's where I'm going to leave it today. Just wanted to connect with you midweek because I couldn't get that email out, and I thought it was important enough to share with you. I hope you learned something from it today. I really appreciate you tuning in and listening to this mini episode called Minutes to Momentum. I hope you're having a great day. I look forward to connecting with you again. You are amazing, and we'll talk again soon.